In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. On this beautiful feast of the Dormition of the Theotokos, I just feel so blessed, and I circled it, and I aimed for this day, because this day, this historic, beautiful day, lands on a Sunday. And I knew there would be more than usual coming on this day because of our love for the Mother of God. You know, I always felt that Christians throughout the world have either overemphasized her position, almost making her a goddess on one end, and then in response to that, they've completely swung the pendulum to the other end and says, who needs the Theotokos? Who cares about the Virgin Mary? All I need is Jesus and the Bible. How devilish that is. There is a perfect position for her. And this is the reason many of you came out, your love for her. By loving her, you are loving Christ in a different way. So we needed, I just saw this day landing on a Sunday being providential. We Orthodox needed this day for people to come back into the church. No one, when speaking about the Mother of God, cannot speak about something of love. We cannot understand, we cannot fathom her love for mankind. But you know, ever since the fall of Adam, when we lost our harmony with God, with nature, and with one another, ever since we lost Eden itself, the entire world population is fundamentally divided. You speak of any issue, and there's a great chance there's going to be a 50-50 divide. There are broken relations between family members, within communities, and among nations. Even the church, my friends, even the church that Christ paid for with his own blood and established with his own blood. And he begged for its unity, prayed for it at the Garden of Gethsemane before his crucifixion. Let them be one. And yet, the scandal of 30,000 plus denominations, 30,000 plus versions of the one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church that Christ established with his own right hand. I am speaking about love today somewhere. Anyway, I think there are two reasons why these ills and these divisions exist. Then they plague mankind. One is arrogance, and the other is ignorance. The arrogance of man's pride, speaking beyond his knowledge. The other is ignorance. Ignorance of how to love. We do not understand how to love one another. First of all, let me just speak to something about self-love. Self-love within limits is good and fitting and necessary in order to have healthy relationships with one another. But when self-love becomes excessive, we behave badly. We behave inappropriately. One of the ways this obsessive self-love plays out and manifests itself, rather than showing love for the others in natural ways, in healthy ways, we instead jump through hoops and vaunt ourselves and parade ourselves to get people to love us. And it's not even us that we're wanting them to love. It's a falsified version of us. This passion of wanting people to love us excessively actually has a name. It's called the sin of philoeresia. Philoeresia, the love of being loved, the excessive love of being loved. Again, to a certain degree, self-love is good and beneficial and needful. But when it becomes a passion, we lose ourselves. There's a story of a woman who had 2 dates. After the first date, she went out, she came home, and she called her girlfriend, and they were talking, and how did it go, this. And, she said, oh, he was so witty, he was so charming, he was so cute, he was all these things. He knows so much. A few days later, she had a date with a different fellow. She comes home, and she just sits on her bed and doesn't make the call to her friend. And her friend's getting anxious, and so the friend calls her. Says, well, say something. Was he charming? Was he witty? Was he intelligent? Was he gorgeous? And the woman just said, I'm not even sure. All I know is that he made me feel like I was witty and intelligent and beautiful. She learned that night, perhaps, I don't care how much you know until I know how much you care. So just so you know, this kind of thing doesn't only exist among the laity. The clergy struggle with this sin as well, this passion. Story of 2 priests. The one was very idealistic and followed everything to the T. And so he was noticing that the people kind of went to the other priest more than him. And so it frustrated him. And actually, he got jealous about it. And he confronted the priest. And he said, look, I pray much more than you. I fast much better than you. And I follow the book to the letter. Why do people love you more than me? The priest said, first of all, I don't even know if that's true. Who knows the hearts of men? We can't judge the people that way. However, let me just tell you, yes, you do these things, but do you know your people? Do you love them? Do you know their struggles? Do you know their families? Do you know their children? Do you know their pain? Do you listen to your people? This thing doesn't just happen to the laity. This thing doesn't just happen to the clergy, but apparently it also happens to the saints. You look at today's gospel lesson. Martha, who is preoccupying herself with much serving, almost to the point of distraction. Mary and Martha are having Christ over as their guest. Martha is serving. Mary is sitting at her feet. So which way is better? Which way is spiritually preferable? Which form of love is the better part? Is the active form of love the better part? Doting over the person? Or is it the contemplative way? Listening to them. Respecting their thoughts. The church fathers have actually weighed in on this, and they seem to agree that the contemplative approach is actually greater than the active approach. But really, to tell you the truth, we don't even have to look at the church fathers for this, because Christ himself weighed in on this. After the active Martha complained to the Lord about the contemplative Mary, Lord, Do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Tell her then to help me. The Lord answers her, and I love that he says her name twice. There's something about that. Martha, Martha, you are anxious and troubled about many things. One thing is needful, and Mary has chosen the better portion, which will not be taken away from her. Well, let me begin to conclude here. I mentioned at the beginning that when we lost Eden, we lost our harmony with God, we lost our harmony with nature, we lost our harmony with one another. How can we restore that harmony? Well, there could be three solutions. For God, it's in liturgy. Don't think that missing liturgy, it's okay, no big deal. That's not true. That may indicate that love for the Lord is cooling off in you, and you have to fix that somehow. Worship is man's greatest act. Don't think that it's okay to just fluff it off and explain it away. I'm tired, whatever. There's a million excuses. How to restore ourselves with nature. Just love and respect all of life. Every blade of grass, every grain of sand, respect it. And how do we love one another? By being present, by listening. The world is not your classroom. Listen to others once in a while. Certainly, don't exclude the active life as long as the active life is done from a heart of love. Without love, the active life comes off as nervous energy. It's annoying. I don't know, it's inauthentic, and it doesn't serve our purpose. It defeats our purpose. So, if we wish to learn how to express love, look at the Theotokos. Look at the Virgin Mary. She who was without reservation, without ulterior motives, without unnatural self-love. She abandoned herself to the divine will. O Mother of God and ever Virgin, with your tender heart and great gift of intercession, in your soft and quiet and gentle way, teach us, Mother of God, teach us how to love one another. Amen.